Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Tuesday, March the 15th, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to go over the daily fantasy sports 4-game NBA slate. So here we go. We've got two 7 o'clock, a 7:30, and an 8 o'clock. We're going to dive right into these suckers. No delaying, no messing around. We got a pretty short day here of only 4 games, but it makes it very, very interesting. So game number 1, here we go. Memphis Grizzlies 47-22, Indiana 23-46. Memphis is a 7.5 point favorite. It's a 235 total, 121.25 implied for Memphis, and 113.75 for your Indiana Pacers. We have the big news of the day, pretty much, or some of them. One being doubtful for Ja Morant. I'm already counting him out. I just don't see that he plays here. So it becomes a Tyus Jones day again, and certainly some other different spots with Memphis you can attack. For Indiana, we've got the dreaded questionable tag on Malcolm Brogdon, which is frustrating because we really do need that news, but it's the first game. We will have it. Also, Goga Bitadze, Christian Duarte, and Lance Stevenson. The whole bunch are questionable. So hard to break down this Indiana team until we have that news, because that's the majority of their minutes played. Guys that are out are the same guys: McConnell, Turner, Warren. So again, we need news here, but we'll have it. So no stress there. Definitely would be tougher if it was a later game in the slate. As I mentioned before, Tyus Jones just becomes such a solid play when Ja sits. I mean, he steps up and gets it done. I really enjoy playing him at cheap prices, and he's 3-4. So he'll more than likely be a foundational piece for me today. We do have the return of Dillon Brooks. He's back. So let's see what his role is going to be. Certainly interesting at only 4.9. Desmond Bane's the guy that really, to me, prospers the most with both, with having Ja off the floor and just, ramping it up type of Dillon Brooks in there. So Bane at 6-7 is going to be high on my radar also. You've got Jaren Jackson at 6.5 and Steven Adams at 5.8. They're both always at that price that's very tempting. Certainly can look at and consider both of them. Other than that, bench-wise, when Jaw's out, DeAnthony Melton gets a little bit more run, but he isn't an automatic play, but at least he's worth mentioning. He is 4.5, so he's not one of the dirt cheap guys, but certainly worth a mention. And then on the Indiana side, like I said, we have no idea until we get the news on those players. So it's very hard to, really put anything together here. But what I will say is Malcolm Brogdon at 7.8, if he plays, he generally plays his minutes, not restricted minutes. So if he's in, I'm going to immediately consider him in this matchup. If he's out, then Tyrese Halliburton is the guy that benefits the most. He's 9.3, so it's a bit expensive, but all of his numbers go up: his usage, his assist ratio, etc. So Halliburton for me only if Brogdon does sit. You've got to pay that mid-level price for Buddy Hield if you want to go there. He's at 7.5. He's probably going to get a little Dillon Brooks defense too, which doesn't make him as palatable. You've got that rotation now of Brissett, Jackson, and Smith taking a lot of the front court minutes. And then if Goga's in there, that creates more of a problem as far as who to, really single out DFS-wise. So let's get the news on Goga. I tell you, Jalen Smith, man, he just seems to get it done every game off the bench, gets enough minutes, gets the points. He's a rookie, the kid that came over from the Suns in that trade that sent Torrey Craig over to Phoenix, and they might have really found themselves a diamond in this young man. He can shoot the three, he can do a little bit of everything. So at 5.5, if they're a little shorthanded, Goga's not going to play. I'd love to go back to him. Isaiah Jackson can play too. Another great opportunity here. So there's so much value already in game number one, only on a 4-game slate. So you are going to be able to buy up to where you need to get to on some of these other games. All right, let's go to game two. It's also 7 o'clock. Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic. Brooklyn favored by 10. When's the last time Brooklyn was double-digit favorite on this long losing streak and a couple wins here and there? But they are getting it together. They're favored by 10. It's a 232 total, 121 implied for Brooklyn, 111 for the Orlando Magic. Brooklyn is 35-33. Orlando is 18-51. We don't know the situation with Seth Curry. He is questionable, and Cam Thomas is questionable. So Curry's been starting, getting really good minutes for them. Cam on and off has been a decent force off the bench. So those are two pieces of news that we need. We know LMA is out and no return quite in sight for Ben Simmons yet. For Orlando, an important piece for sure, Jalen Suggs. He's been taking a lot of, using a lot of the usage from that team to get shots up, create, really improving lately, but he's also fighting an injury. So important news if he's in or out. We need to find that out. Gary Harris also questionable. And then Jonathan Isaac, we know, has been out forever. Statistically, two things I want to mention. I don't believe I went over the Memphis, Indiana one. So let's reverse and go back there real quickly. Memphis is 4th in pace in the league. Indiana's 18th. So good pace up game for Indiana. Defensively, we know Memphis is pretty good at 7th. Indiana 26th. So just in lieu of the guys that we mentioned there, I don't think there's anything massively impactful there, but certainly enough that, the guys we mentioned are still very much in play. For this Brooklyn-Orlando game, Brooklyn, by the way, is also on the first night of a back-to-back. That could affect things a little bit. And island game for Orlando. Brooklyn's 11th in pace, Orlando 10th. So we have two teams that do push the ball up and down the floor, and neither team is defending very well. They're 18th and 21st, respectively. So what does that leave us here? What do things look like with some of these guys out? That's the big question. Kyrie Irving will play because it's on the road in Florida, in Orlando. He's 10-2. Certainly changes things a little bit with just smashing in Kevin Durant, which we've done the games where Kyrie's out. But KD's up to 11-1, deservedly so. He's been awesome for us lately. And then with Kyrie back, that makes it a little bit tougher, although Orlando, as we said, does not play defense. So very, very confusing here on which way you want to go. Lots of opportunities. Kyrie 10-2. He's had some big games. We mentioned KD at 11-1. Still leaning a little towards KD there, believe it or not. Curry, we'll see if he's going to play. He's only 5'4". Bruce Brown's cheap at 5'2", and Drummond at 5'8". Goran Dragic has been getting a lot of minutes at the point, but now with Kyrie back, he's going to downgrade a bit, but he is only 4'2". After that, it becomes pretty tough to determine which direction to go much on their bench, especially without the news on Cam Thomas as well, who's questionable. For Orlando, let's say Suggs sits. It's probably going to be Anthony Hampton probably steps in there. I would assume with Wagner, Carter, and Mamba. Mamba. The Mamba. He's 5'5", and Bamba drives you nuts because he will have games where he just disappears, games where he decides he wants to make a bunch of threes and do a little bit of everything else. He's only 5'5". He does have to play against Andre Drummond probably most of the time, and Drummond's not going to get out there and defend that three. So Bamba dangerous here. But risk, that's the problem. You just don't know which Bamba you're going to get. And sort of like him a little bit, but always am fearful. Wendell Carter Jr. has had some monster games lately, and he's 7'4", which is very fair. He's a fine option. Generally, when Suggs sits, it elevates Cole Anthony the most. He's 6'3", which is, I think, cheap for a guy that has a high ceiling. Cole's definitely on my list for possible plays. The other guys I'll mention, like I said, RJ Hampton at 3-4 is playable, but they do slice up the minutes with those reserves. You're going to get some Okeke, Fultz, Mo Wagner. Franz's brother gets good minutes now. He's been playing better. And then if Gary Harris plays, and of course, Terrence Ross off their bench. So they do have a lot of guys that they're utilizing. They're really not trying to win games, in my opinion. They're just positioning for the draft. But, the guys that are in there, they are competitive, and it is a home game. So I do like some of the Orlando plays here, and not just the value plays. I think you can pluck out maybe two guys here and follow it up with a solid Brooklyn player on the other side. 232 is a good total. I think the game stays 10 or below, as Vegas says. Hopefully, it's not a blowout game right off the bat. But if it does blow out, you're going to want shares of somebody like KD. There's no question about that. All right. Before we get into the last two games real quickly here, come and join us. Go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com. You'll have all the different options for memberships there. If you want to just try us out, we have a 3-day $10 membership that you can check everything we've got. If you join today, you get all of our NBA action, our PGA action coming up. We're gearing up for a big Major League Baseball season. Very fired up for that as well. I'd like to thank the presenting sponsor, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Sign up with the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, and they will match up to $100, all the way 100% of what you put in on your first deposit. So you put in 100, they're going to give you a free 100. And Prize Picks is a blast. We're doing a separate Prize Picks podcast 7 days a week now for the NBA. We're going to do something similar from the MLB, where we'll be highlighting in a short little podcast, like 7 to 10 minutes every day, where we'll be sharing our top 3 or 4 or 5 Prize Picks plays of the day. So definitely look for that on YouTube and throughout our podcast landing spots. So that is started right away, already started. And we know April 7th, right around the corner, is going to be starting the MLB season. And we have some great MLB packages open as well, and would love to have you join us. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, please take a second to hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. That really helps us. Give us a little comment, a question, anything you want to throw in there. It really helps us move up the algorithm on YouTube. All right. Thank you for allowing me to get through those things. Now, the other two games, Detroit versus Miami at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It is Miami by 12.5, biggest spread of the day. So a little concern of blowout in Miami here. Always a concern here, especially against the Pistons. They have played some really good games lately, but they are capable of laying an egg as well. It's only a 215 total. That's the other deterrent of this game. 101.25 implied for Detroit, 113.75 for the Miami Heat. Coming into the game, Detroit 18-50, Miami 45-24. As far as injuries for Detroit, we have a probable tag on Chris Smith, Killian Hayes, and Rodney Magruder. We expect those guys to play. And then out is Diallo and Jackson. For Miami, just one person, Caleb Martin, is out officially. So does this game stay close? Is it a key game? That's the difficult decision here. Detroit's 15th in pace, Miami 28th. So they're not going to be burning it up that way. Detroit's not good defensively, though, 25th. Miami, a top 5 defense pretty much all year. They're 5th. So does the game stay close? Question number one. If it does, are there enough DFS points available in this game with, some solid D on the Miami side and not the fastest pace here? Those are the questions you have to answer before you attack it. It looks like, we're going to get Killian Hayes back, so that takes any luster off probably of trying to get Corey Joseph in there at a cheap 4-4 price, but we'll keep the news there open and find out what that is, and we'll share that with you in Discord. Cade Cunningham's up to 8-3, so that price, is a little bit tough. He has been their go-to guy and definitely could be in play here, but I don't know, against Miami, tough one to pull the trigger at that price. Sadiq Bey a little cheaper at 6. Jeremy Grant also at 6-4, but they've both been inconsistent. Isaiah Stewart is back. He's 4-5. He had missed some games with an injury. That definitely takes that Marvin Bagley play down quite a bit. And Bagley's all the way up to 5-9 because he performed pretty well when Stewart was on the shelf. Tough one on Detroit. Not comfortable saying go to these guys or this guy even, just because the Heat defense and the way the game script comes out. Now on the Miami side, you've got everybody back in there. So it's a different situation. We've had at least one of them sitting at some point, but to review the prices here, because they're all a little bit too high, I think, because the prices adjusted when different guys were out. But Lowry's 6-6. Butler's 8-6, Bam's 8-2, which is still fair. Tyler Hero 7-6. Those are the key guys that you want to consider here. I'm probably going to have 2 Heat players. I think they, get control of this game. But remember that depth. They have Oladipo. Hero comes off the bench. They still have Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker, Oladipo, Strus, Markieff Morris is back now, Gabe Vincent. So because they've had so many guys, they've really developed a healthy 5 or 6 man bench. So we're talking 10, 11 deep, which definitely is a concern, especially in a game with Detroit that they should handle. So I am not going to unload the vault on this game just because of all of those dynamics I just mentioned. I do think that, a possibility of buying up to a Jimmy Butler is always there because his 8-6 price is very fair. Same thing goes for Bam. I don't think 8-2 is really a fair price for him. I think he should be a little more expensive. So either one of those are very much in play. If I was to go value here, I don't know if I will because it's more mid-level with Hero 7-6, Lowry 6-6. I don't really consider them value. And then all the other players in this game for Miami that chip in, I think there's just too much sharing of minutes and usage. So not my favorite game. Maybe one pay up for a Miami guy, and then that's going to be the game I'll have my least exposure. All right, game 4. It's 8 o'clock game, so it's an early night tonight. It's the Phoenix Suns at the New Orleans Pelicans. Phoenix is favored by 6, which is not much, but the Pels have been playing better. It's 229 total. It's 117.5 implied for Phoenix and 111.5 implied for the Pelicans. Phoenix is 54-14. The Pels are 28-40. Some news here. We've got our buddy Gabriel Lundberg. There's always a real cool one on there for Phoenix is probable. So maybe we see Gabriel Lundberg today. The guys that are out, though, are Johnson, Kaminsky, Paul, and Saric. For the Pelicans, the big news and the most important news of this game, the news we need to have that we might not have because it is the last game on the slate, is CJ McCollum is questionable. So whether he plays or not will affect a lot of things in this game. Guys we already know are out are Brandon Ingram, Huge, Nance, and Cheeseburgers Williamson. Sorry, he's back to cheeseburgers because I haven't heard when he's coming back. So I would assume he's feasting on a few more fully loaded burgers. I know I would. So anyway, we look into this game, really that McCollum news is going to shift a lot of things that we do here. I will say it is the first night of a back-to-back for Phoenix on top of that. So they're on a road trip. They play again tomorrow night. So that doesn't help matters either. Pace-wise, Phoenix is 8th, New Orleans 21st. So nets out to be pretty average. Phoenix, terrific defense, third in the league. Pels, not so much at 22. So how do we look at this game? Is Booker your automatic buy up at 9-6? I can see that. I could see that he finds a very good spot here if it stays close enough. Could have one of his monster games. So he's in consideration for me on a slate that with these 4 games, it's a little different as far as the amount of buy up options, and there's tons of value. So Booker probably going to make my lineup. I'm just going to say so right now, just because of that ceiling. Other guys, campaign up to 7-7 though, but still can be considered. Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder have been the cheap options for Phoenix at 5-9, 5-7. If you hit them on the right day, they're decent. And then, of course, there's DeAndre Ayton at 7-3, which is in play. Pelicans, if CJ's in or out, if he's in, I think he's a play. 9-4 is a pretty big number, but he has played like that. And with Brandon Ingram off the floor, his numbers shoot up in everything. So it is an island game. So if he's ready to play, I think he'll get the minutes, but we need to follow that closely. That affects everybody else. It's a domino effect. If he's out, then you got to talk about Devontae Graham, Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy. Those guys are all pretty nicely priced, although Graham at 6'8 is a little high if you ask me. Herb Jones at 6'1, Najee Marshall now at 5'4, one of the players that you can consider. Jackson Hayes is coming off a really good game at 5'3, and of course Joe Val at 8'6. I don't want to load up on Pels just because that Suns defense is so darn good, but definitely exposure in this last game. But a lot of it's going to have to do if we can get that CJ McCollum news. And it's not going to be hard if you put CJ in there to swap, especially with Booker on the other side at almost the exact same price. There's a couple of different combinations that we can do. I will probably have a plan in place if I do decide to go CJ. All right. That is it, my friends. It's pretty cool. Only 4 games today. Gives us a little breather here in preparation for tomorrow. How about if I told you tomorrow there is 12 games right in the old coach's sweet spot? I love when there's a big amount of games like that. I think it increases our edge dramatically. So that is it. That are 4 games. Go after it. We had a really solid night last night. Had some good cashes on FanDuel and Draftkings. Barely got a few cashers in Yahoo, but any cash is a good cash. And my man Crash had a really solid prize picks night too. So it was fun to see a lot of those winners up from our members. Really excited to see how we'll follow up and hammer it after it again tonight. So thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Have an awesome Tuesday. Check out our prize picks pod coming up shortly after this one. And then I'll be back tomorrow. Get out the extra cup of coffee and be ready for a big 12-game breakdown tomorrow. So thanks for listening. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. While you're at it, hit that little alarm in the upper corner so you know every time one of our podcasts posts. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow when we look to crush it again in NBA DFS.